The Lord said to me, Deanna, you have complete and total permission to be. We hear the names of the Lord all the time, but we don't know them by experience. We've just heard them by word of mouth. The Lord is showing me that He's a good counselor. And we sing that in songs and we've read it in the Bible, but don't really understand what that means. So many of us have just come out of constant waves of disaster. Things will hit and then we'll finally get our head above water and another wave comes and takes us over. After those waves come, there's a portion of just stillness. You're waiting on edge for another wave to come and it doesn't. Then you're in a position where you're like, well, what do I do now? What do I do with the disaster that these waves have caused? I found myself in a weird place where I really didn't care to hope for anything. I was tired of hearing all these messages about how God will do it and your life's gonna get better. It just got really old. So I'm like, I get that, but my hope is exhausted. And really, I was coming to a place where I was learning acceptance. We read in the Bible that there's a time for everything. There are periods in my life where I'm seeing there's a time to hope and then there's a time to accept. Sometimes I wonder if I'm constantly hoping when I should be accepting, and the peace that I'm looking for would be in that acceptance. And then there's other times where my hope will discontinue me from settling in a place where I don't belong anyways. The Lord said to me, Deanna, you have complete and total permission to be. I didn't even know what that meant. When He speaks to you, it's never what it seems on the surface. Complete and total permission to be. He said, you've actually always had this, but this period of your life, I want you to know that you have permission from me to be. I found myself being irritated because I was like, to be what? Like, finish the sentence. I need context, but there was no context, just permission to be. I found myself in a relationship with the Lord experiencing pain or trauma and then still trying to be this soldier, still trying to have faith, still trying to have hope, still trying to be something, striving for perfection. If we're not careful, we'll allow humans to steal from us, or will willingly give up the very thing the blood of Jesus was shed for. Our humanity is a meeting place with Him. He's showing me what it means to be counseled by Him. I used to hear that, He's our wonderful counselor and think that He's full of wisdom. He's always pouring out wisdom. But this place is about Him sitting and listening, allowing emotions to surface, helping me come to my own conclusions, giving me space to be, to think, to feel, to communicate. It feels uncomfortable and somewhat feels selfish because people have pictured Him as this God that sits on a throne and wants you to constantly seek Him, constantly ask Him questions, constantly read the Bible, constantly pray, and nothing else in life. The more I get to know Him, the more I'm seeing His nature is the exact opposite. He is giving in everything that He does. He sets an example for us by who He is. So when He says things to me like, you have complete and total permission to be. I've seen the trauma. I've seen you brave it. I've seen you cry. I've seen you suffer. I've seen you try and have joy, try to build again, try to breathe again. This place isn't about striving or doing or perfecting or any instruction. It's not even about obedience. I want to sit in a room with you and allow those emotions to surface. If you've been in any good therapeutic session, you realize that the role of the counselor is not to tell you what to do, but to guide you to reasoning, to truth, to evidence, to proof. Sometimes He shows up with me in that room and He doesn't say anything. Sometimes I don't say anything. And in the stillness, I have permission to be angry, to be frustrated, to be upset, to do something stupid and ask Him why I did that, to have conversation about the way that I move. Every time I follow through with what He said, you have permission to be. He meets me there, no matter what it looks like. For those of us who have experienced those constant waves of disaster or trauma, and the dust has settled, and you're kind of trying to figure out what just happened, I wonder if we don't overcomplicate this relationship with Him. We're always trying to hold in our emotions and be something that we think we need to be for Him, so we can be worthy of His time and attention. But His eye is constantly on us. He patiently sits in the room as a counselor. He gives us the space and permission to say things we would never say in a room by ourselves. I always wonder if we're forcing him to speak. We need this and we need that and we need a word and we need an answer. And his silence isn't him rejecting us or withholding himself from us. But maybe it speaks to the truth of being with him. I've seen more of him in my life through being than I've ever seen anytime I've ever strived, forcing myself to make this relationship work when it is founded in love and it develops from a place of being. How beautiful to know that the God of the universe observes you, that at any point in time and that at all times he sits and gives you room to be, not requiring anything of you, not asking anything of you, not looking at you with shame or disappointment. You have permission to be. I've seen everything you've gone through. And however you end up being, I will meet you there. There's something that will surface in that place of meeting that can't develop when you're striving to be something you aren't. We're shameful of our humanity, and he says that's the place where I want to meet you.